Welcome back to the Cossy Arsenal channel. My name is Cossy. Welcome back to a brand new video. Arsenal are seriously working on a new striker, and that is a deal that we should get done early in the transfer window. Andre Bata is making sure that by the time we get out of June, Arsenal have their new centre forward alongside the signing of Martin Zubimendi. However, RB Leipzig have told Arsenal they have to pay 80 million euros in order to sign Benjamin Sesko. Benjamin Sesko is the striker that has been agreed upon inside Arsenal internally. They believe that he's going to be a big striker, one of the best strikers in the world in the years to come. And Andre Bata and Mikel Arteta are both in agreement that he's the player we should be signing. Now, internally at RB Leipzig as well, there has been an agreement. They've been trying to deliberate on the price of the player. Obviously, the release clause of the player is £67.4 million. If anyone wants to sign Benjamin Sesko without negotiations, you can just go and trigger the release clause of the player and then get the deal done. But Sesko is going to be one of those strikers, one of those players that are really wanted in the summer. And RB Leipzig are saying if they're clubs wanting to sign Benjamin Sesko, but they don't want to trigger the release clause of the player, then we can negotiate. Then we can talk about a higher price, but installments, right? But it's a different structure apart from triggering the release clause of the player. So in this video, we're going to be discussing the structure of the deal. We're going to be discussing what Arsenal are going to do in order to get Benjamin Sesko and whether it is worth to get Benjamin Sesko for 80 million euros, rising to 90 million euros. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. The transfer window is officially open. We've done a video on that one, setting Arsenal's expectations, detailing Arsenal's work plan, and trying to find what is Arsenal. At the end of the day, what should Arsenal have? At the end of the transfer window, it is going to be 90 days, 3 full months. What should Arsenal have by the 1st of September? I've done a video explaining that, and for me, there are no excuses when it comes to Andre Bata, Mikel Arteta, and Josh Kroenke. We have a lot of time. We have enough time to sign a striker, a left winger, midfielders, whatever kind of position has to be reinforced this summer. Arsenal have enough time to think, rethink, act, and implement on their decisions. But let's start off with let's get into the RB Leipzig position on Benjamin Sesko. So the player obviously has improved this season. He has scored 13 goals in the German Bundesliga, and there was a graphic out there showing that there is no player under the age of 21 or 21 and below that has scored more goals in his league more than Benjamin Sesko. Benjamin Sesko has scored 13 goals in the German Bundesliga, and he has, I think, scored 21 goals in all competition this season. So it's not a bad striker. And the reason as to why Arsenal are so crazy about Benjamin Sesko is they don't want to spend high volumes of money on a centre forward, maybe in 2025, and then sign another one in 2028 or in 2029. So Mikel Arteta and whoever he is working with, they're looking at Sesko as a player Arsenal can sign. He can work for us immediately with the likes of Kai Havertz around, with the likes of Gabriel Jesus still around, and a couple of other options that can play at centre forward. He can immediately be that impactful centre forward. But even if it doesn't work out, Mikel Arteta is pretty much sure that with a couple of trainings and a couple of years gaining experience, he's going to become a real centre forward in the future. Now, whether Arsenal need a centre forward that scores 25 goals right now, or we need a centre forward that will score 25 goals in 2030, that is the decision of the manager. And we've got to back the manager, and I'm going to back the manager. So the reason as to why this deal is very, very attractive to Arsenal, number one, apart from the fact that Arsenal looking at him as another Alexander Isak. I think I told you that Mikel Arteta is still unhappy with himself that he let go of the opportunity to sign Alexander Isak way back in 2022. To be honest, Arsenal had done a lot of, not a lot of good work, but we have done a lot of good work in terms of scouting Alexander Isak. And in that summer, if you still remember, Arsenal were really obsessed with Dusan Vlahovic. And we spent a lot of time trying to sign Dusan Vlahovic. I don't even remember what Arsenal really did with the Dusan Vlahovic deal, but eventually it didn't happen. And by the time we were out of there, we went to negotiate with the Real Sociedad, and Sociedad were like, no way, you're not giving us enough time to replace our player. Go away, you can come back later. No, thank you. And the next summer, Newcastle signed Alexander Isak, and then we signed Gabriel Jesus, and the rest is history. This season, Alexander Isak has been the best striker in the world, not in the world really, in the league, in the Premier League, and Jesus, as always, disappointed. So I think Mikel Arteta is really willing to milk 67.4 million or 75 million in order to get Benjamin Sesko. He wants to believe in his scouting team. He wants to believe in his data team. And he believes that for 80 million euros, he's getting the best striker in the world in the next years to come. Now, I'll tell you, for me, that is a little bit delusional and too optimistic. And maybe those two words can be used in the same sentence and make sense. Delusional basically means you're believing something that is never going to happen. So I don't think Mikel is delusional, because Sesko could become one of the best strikers in the world in the future. He's got all the metrics and all the standard, conditions to become that. But in a world where we have Alexander Isak, in a world where we have Kylian Mbappe, in a world where we have Erling Haaland Braut, in a world where we have the likes of Joao Pedro, it is a long shot to say that to say that Sesko is going to be the best striker in the next 5 years or in the next 3 years. It's a long shot. But again, why Arsenal are trying to be optimistic here is that you look at the striker market right now, it is crazy. So if you're getting a guy that is promising to improve every single season for 67 million, that is 80 million euros, that is actually not a bad deal at all. And also, this is why Arsenal are so impressed with this deal. One, RB Leipzig are willing to spread the amount across a certain period of time. So they're willing to accept base payments, they're willing to accept installments, they're willing to accept bonuses and add-ons. Again, that makes the deal lucrative, not for Arsenal only, but also for, not for Leipzig only, but also for Arsenal. Because if you're Leipzig and you're accepting installments, it means by the end of the installments, you're going to get your 80 million euros, and that's very good money. But in terms of Arsenal, in a summer where we have to do too much, right? You might have to spend 200 million. But you're not going to spend 200 million if you're going to spend 80 million euros once on one player. So what Arsenal are looking here is Leipzig are willing to bend down a little bit. They're willing to compromise. They're willing to say, give us 30 million euros initially, and then the rest of the money can be given to us, in the coming years. Now, if Arsenal spend 30 million euros on Benjamin Sesko this summer, and we spend maybe 30 million euros on Martin Zubimendi, even the 100 million that was given to us by the Cronkies is still available. And maybe 30 million euros again on a winger, that is 90 million euros. And then with player sales, we can go and do more deals. So that is the first thing for me. And when I looked at this deal and I looked at the Victor Gyökeres deal, I was like, why? Why are Arsenal really spending 80 million euros on a 21-year-old without experience? But then I looked into it. The deal is much cheaper. The deal is, easier. Arsenal have already have an agreement with the player since 1 year ago, and it's gonna be, spread payments. It's going to be spread across, a longer period of time, and then, of course, we will have about 3 to 5 years to pay the amount. I think that's what Arsenal are looking at. But also, this deal, like I said, it allows us to go and sign other players in the same window without looking at PSR. Now, I've been looking at an update from the BBC, and they were saying that Arsenal are one of the most profitable teams in the Premier League, and this summer they can spend 200 million. Clearly, they can spend 200 million without looking over their shoulder for PSR issues, right? But I think it was Devin Onstein. Was it Devin Onstein or James McNicholas? I can't remember really. One of them said that with Arsenal, they want to be very, very careful when it comes to PSR. They don't want to overspend because they have the room to spend. They want to be as careful as possible. They don't want to get into trouble. So it's understandable that Arsenal will spend maybe 200 million, maybe above 200 million, but it has to be within the limits of PSR. It has to be within the limits of the profit and sustainability rules. Okay, so again, this still allows you to sign other players because you're gonna spend a small amount on it this summer, and then you can pay smaller amounts in the future as well. I don't think Arsenal will get to the level at which Manchester United are. I think we are a much well-run team, a much better team run than Manchester United, right? Then I think the wages are going to be less, right? So there was a story that was running that the Benjamin Sesko deal could cost Arsenal about 93 million or 92.5 million. The 92.5 million include player wages and agent fees. Now, if this deal is going to cost 92.5 million only, compare that with the Victor Gyökeres deal that is going to cost 65 million euros and the player himself wants 60 million euros. That is already 125 million. So Arsenal looking at it and they're like, okay, this deal with wages of the player included is going to be about 95 million. The Victor Gyökeres deal is going to be about 125. Now, I don't want to sound like the problem at Arsenal. And I want to say this. Arsenal should be able, and we must be able, to go out there and spend 120 million euros for premium strikers. Because premium strikers cost premium money. There's no question about that. They cost premium money. But if Arsenal are saying we don't have that money, what do? You go for a cheaper deal. Otherwise, I'm comfortable with getting Sesko than getting none. Of course, the agent fees are also going to be a little bit cheaper. The Victor Gyökeres deal, I think the Victor Gyökeres deal is being sabotaged by the agent fees as well, because the agent is asking for a lot of money, and now we're hearing Juve, Napoli are interested. I don't know whether those clubs are willing to give his agent the much money he's asking for, but this is also a very good deal in terms of agent fees. And then Arteta, of course, and Arsenal have more time with Benjamin Sesko. The risk with Gyökeres is if it doesn't work out in the first 2 years, it's over. The advantage with Sesko is, you remember Ben White in the first season? Ben White in the first season was catastrophic. His second season, marvelous. So that could happen with Benjamin Sesko. He might come in and maybe score for you 8 goals in the whole in the whole season. And then the next campaign, he catches up with the league, he catches up with the UK environment, he catches up with the team and tactics, and he gets these relationships with his fellow players, and things actually work out a little bit much better. So that is generally why this deal is happening. Now, the downside to this deal is obviously for 80 million euros, there is a lot you can do, right? For 95 million, there's a lot you can do. Just to put that into perspective, for you to sign 95 million, Sesko for 95 million, you could sign Mbeumo plus Victor Gyökeres. That is excluding agent fees and salaries. Because Mbeumo is going to cost like 45 or 40, and then you can pay 60 million euros for Victor Gyökeres. So you can get Mbeumo and Gyökeres at the same price that you're trying to sign Benjamin Sesko for. You can get Rodrigo for that amount of money. You can get Karo Mitoma and Victor Gyökeres for that amount of money. You can get Mbeumo and Watkins for that amount of money. So for me, in my opinion, this is what I want to say. 90 million should be getting you experience and world-class quality. Sesko might be world-class quality in the future, but right now, he's not world-class quality, and he is not a player. I would say 100% Arsenal should go and sign him, to be honest, right? The other downside to this is you might actually take big losses on this deal. I don't know whether people have noticed that. Look at the Albert Sambilo Conga deal. This is like the Albert Sambilo Conga deal and the Nuno Tavares deal, only that the Lokonga and Tavares deals were very, very cheap deals. For me, if you're gonna spend 180 million plus, don't do it the way Arsenal did it with Nicola Pepe. Do it the way Arsenal did it with Declan Rice. Go for a proven guy. And I don't know how Mikel Arteta in his head went, we need a proven midfielder. Let's go for Rice. That was a fantastic decision. And I don't know how he's going for Benjamin Sesko at a time when he needs a proven goal scorer. Because I look at Rasmus Holland and I'm like, what if the pressure gets to Sesko? What if the league is too much for Benjamin Sesko and his age? Rasmus Holland has never been a bad player. For me, I've said this before. Instead of going for Sesko, go and get Matthias Cunha. He's been in the Premier League. Go and get Brian Mbeumo. He's been in the Premier League. Go and get Liam Delap. He's been in the Premier League. And they're much cheaper options. But like I said, I don't want to spread negativity on this deal. It's more likely we get him. So I want to be as positive as possible.